Shabbat Shalom, everybody. That was the awesome Jonathan Dimmock on piano somewhere upstairs in our beautiful building, I think. Looks like familiar space. Cantor Toby Glaser is in the sanctuary, and I'm Rabbi Graf. Gordon Gladstone and Peter Bonos are here, and I don't know who else is behind the scenes, but we're delighted to all be together for Shabbat. It's really nice that there's still a little bit of sunshine outside for us to end our week with, although the mornings have been very hard since time, but the afternoons and the evenings are really nice. So welcome to everybody, and I would like to introduce Lindsay Bronig, the president of our Board of Trustees, who right this minute is going to prove to us that Abraham Joshua Heschel was right in his introduction to the Sabbath. Shabbat is about place in time and not a physical space. Oh, but we need to unmute you.
There we go.
Yes, I am at soccer practice pickup. When I signed up for this slot, I thought it was going to be over by now, but they extended it. Anyway, it's wonderful to be here. And Evie, I'm so excited for tomorrow and so proud of you. Anyway, I hope everyone has had a wonderful week and will enjoy this Shabbat.
Thank you. Oh, and let's swap those first two there. Let's do the candles first. Apologies. I think I put them in the wrong order on the cue sheet.
Great.
So,
we'd like to invite a really fantastic, brilliant, gorgeous, spectacular young lady whose birthday it is today, Evie, to lead us in the lighting of the candles. Would you introduce the lovely people who are sitting near you?
Okay, well, this is my mom, Marcy, and this is my dad, Andy.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom.
You have a
Shabbat
very
Shalom.
famous aunt out there in the synagogue too.
Yeah, my aunt is on a different screen.
Across from us.
Yeah.
Hello, Aaron.
There.
Oh,
Nancy,
spotlighted you.
spotlighted you.
Hi.
hi. Shabbat Shalom.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
we're so happy to have you guys and to celebrate with you. We're looking forward to being with you tomorrow morning and to lead us into this wonderful celebration of you and your entering our community in a new way. We'd love you to light the candles. And is there anything that we should know about your candlesticks?
No, they're just candlesticks.
Sticks with Shabbat candles in them. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Great story.
Very good indeed. Okay.
Red.
Yeah. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahad lekner shel Shabbat.
Cantor Glaser is going to sing us into Shabbat now that we lit the candles and we create a space of Shabbat around us. We make a separation as we step over the threshold with the light of Shabbat. Just some deep breaths that let us leave this week behind as we enter into a new space in time. Thank you, Lindsay and Abraham Joshua Heschel. That can be achieved anywhere. We just make a really sacred space, whether you're outside at the top of the world like Ingrid Apter, or just en route to get to a nice quiet space. We're all together and we carve out this time for introspection and community and just a little bit of peace.
Mikolot mayim rabim adirim mishbereya Mikolot mayim rabim adirim mishbereya Adir b'marom Adonai Adir b'marom Adonai Adir b'marom Adonai רבים אדירים משבריה מקולות מים רבים אדירים נשבריה אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני מקולות מים רבים אדירים משבריה מקולות מים רבים אדירים משבריה אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני אדיר במרום אדוני.
Beautiful. We take a deep breath, welcome in the angels of Shabbat to come around us as we pray they will stay with us and dance with us and celebrate with us and bring us joy for the next 25 hours. We welcome them with these words of Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד שמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי הם מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני אלייך נגלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. We rise as we are able. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
Somebody wrote in the chat, what a joyous way to welcome Shabbat, and I couldn't agree more. The rabbis of old were really wise. They knew that we needed a transition time, this Kabbalat Shabbat in our service, to leave the week and to kind of realign our spirits. They knew that human nature was such that we would take a little bit of, I don't know, it takes a little bit of effort, of kavanah, let's say, of intention, to transition from space to space as we human beings do that. And anybody out there who spent any time with a 2, 3, 4-year-old knows that it sometimes takes a lot of time to transition from space to space. So we have this Kabbalat Shabbat, which lets us come together. And now we're 91 devices signed in together, and it proves that rabbis of old right, though they didn't refer to us on iPads, but we're together. And so we begin the central part of our evening service with these words of Baruch Hu that are call and response. Once we have a minyan, once we have a community together, and the Cantor says the first words and we respond saying, yes, we're here together and we're warmed up. We're ready to pray together. Baruch Hu.
Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Dai 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 dai.
We live in a world filled with love, God's love for us and our love for each other. We only need to look around and accept it and realize it and find gratitude for the love which is all around us. And one of the ways to do that is to pray these words, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta, Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shochbeinu v'kumeinu נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו ובהם יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Always when we pray together, we remember the Exodus from Egypt and the incredible miracle of our freedom that grounds us and sustains us and inspires us to behave in a way in the world that allows for other people's freedom. But especially in this time leading up to Passover, we think about this story, our foundation myth, the central story of the Jewish people in a really powerful way. We look forward to being together to retell this story, and we celebrate our freedom to new heights. Michamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, הוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי אנו
Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, over Yerushalayim, your city of peace, and over all the world one day, we pray.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ושמור צאתנו ובואנו. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ושמור ארצתנו ובואנו השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Each of us enters into this Amidah, this central part of our service, with our own kavanah, with our own thoughts, and with the privilege of having the same keva, the same written words, which we'll share together on the screen in just a minute for us to use as inspiration, or just to know that we're connected to each other and through the generations with these beautiful words. So we take a moment to turn inward and think about those words which we need to say now privately and in community.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Got to see some of you a little bit before the service, but welcome to everybody who I didn't greet earlier. So this week marks 1 year since the shutdown of our city. We won't know the meaning of this last year until some time has passed, but a lot of people are already beginning to write about the changes in our society and what we might learn from this really challenging and interesting year. There have been a lot of sort of commemorations of this milestone of arriving at 1 year since our city shut down. Mayor Breed went to many locations in town and made some public appearances to just acknowledge this time. It's a very important Jewish value, I think, to count time as we do. We will again soon for the counting of the Omer, and to think about what the passage of time means for us individually and as a community. So, like our ancient ancestors, the Israelites who spent 40 years in the desert preparing to build a new society, we too have spent just a little bit of time now wandering Bamidbar in kind of a hazy and unknown location. This week, we begin in the cycle of our Torah reading the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, which, as many of you who study Torah know, this is a kind of tough book in its language. It's really about laws, guidelines for living a new life and building a new society. This week, we read the parsha called Vayikra, also Parshat Vayikra, which is the first parsha in this new book. It's a tough one, as Evie can tell you, to look at first, because it's really all about sacrifices. And I'll just pause for a moment for a commercial break to say at 9:15 tomorrow morning, it turns out it's my turn in the rotation to do Torah study. And I, like Evie, felt a little bit daunted, let's say, by the language of this Torah portion, which is really all about different kinds of animal sacrifices. And finding a way to make this relevant is a challenge, but so important and actually quite meaningful once we find those ways to bring this Torah portion into our lives. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to see the J Weekly yet today, but my article on Parshat Vayikra is there talking about Parsha birthday cakes. And as I said in the article, this one about twisting the necks of pigeons and all of the things that happen with sacrificing animals was the Torah portion that was mine one year, many years ago in rabbinical school, when a very good friend and classmate decided to make a birthday cake and decorate it for Parshat Vayikra. So I'll let your imaginations run wild, or if you're really curious, I'll be happy to tell you, but I can say that it coincides with this spring season of Peeps, marshmallow candies that look like adorable little spring birds. So you can imagine what happened with my Parsha cake. In any case, we usually think about this Torah portion as one which is tough to read for its literal meaning about sacrifices. It is, it's true, but that's only the pshat, the literal meaning of the words in this Torah portion. On a deeper level, it's about how we build relationships with God, with each other. It's about the guidelines we set as a community and the way we respond to challenges in our world. As I've said almost every single week during this pandemic, this particular Torah portion feels more relevant to me this year than in any year that I remember. And that I think all of these Torah portions speak to the challenges of building anew, the challenges of learning how to reconcile ourselves with one another and with God. So let's shift for a minute and look at Vayikra as the parsha about this moment in history, instead of only about ancient actions in temple times. In a way, it's really about this, or we could summarize it this way and say, the message of Vayikra is solidify your story as you journey, and prepare rituals as a response to your personal and communal experiences. What could be more relevant to the challenges of this year? Make photo albums, in a way this Torah portion teaches us, real and in our own memories. I've started to do this, and it helps a lot, I find, in looking back over this crazy year now of shelter in place that we've all experienced together, yet apart. It helps a lot to make photo albums in my own mind and on paper, because as I look back over this challenging year, I find with this time I'm spending with the photo albums that there were so many wonderful adventures and walks and conversations that took place in this year. Just putting those photos in order in a book and in my mind is helping me to realize what the year actually looked like and how I want to remember it. How will we tell the story of this crazy year? The way we choose to tell it will become part of our own sacred stories, the Torah of our own lives. The telling of this pandemic story, like the challenges recorded from the Israelites' experiences, will become our own legend, our own lore, the sacred story of our own lives. I want to share with you a poem. Some of you may have seen it. It's by Donna Ashworth from a collection called History Will Remember When the World Stopped. Poem is from a pandemic. And I'll read it to you, one of the poems, in just a minute. I challenge us to think about these words for our own stories and for the future. This is the time of year for storytelling. After all, Passover is a retelling of the greatest story of our people, the foundation story of our society, the dramatic events that led to our going forward through the wilderness, to the unknown, of being willing to continue, that ultimately led us to becoming the Jewish people and to arriving at the land of Israel. We hear that foundation story every year at our Seders, and we proudly share it with our friends and neighbors. It is the story of our courage, of our willingness to believe that we'd create a better future ahead. We not only tell this story to our kids, but we invite them to participate, to take ownership, and to hold an honored position in the Seder. Speaking of which, I hope you'll all join us for the community's second night Seder. And if you do, you will see our own community's children taking an honored position. Ari and her Hebrew school classmates have learned Manishtana. We'll see how their rendition is, but they will tell the story, ask the questions that continue to resonate over the thousands of years about our own story. What does this story tell about who we are and how we interact with one another? Zach has been running around the house singing Dayenu every night and has gotten into now Pharaoh, Pharaoh. So we'll see how this goes, but certainly it's a story that gets passed on and that is foundational to how we see ourselves and who we understand ourselves to be. As the Israelites learned, our time in the wilderness was about rethinking our relationship with God, with other people, and with a new future. It's frankly a perfect Torah portion for the end of this first year of the pandemic. We stand in the wilderness on the anniversary of the closure of our city and have the great privilege to decide how we will tell this story of our own wandering in the desert this past year. And so I share with you this poem by Donna Ashworth. In 20 years' time, people will not ask the children of 2020 if they caught up with their studies. They will not ask them what grades they made despite the year off school. They will ask them with wonder, what was it like? They will ask them, how did you cope? How did you feel? What do you remember of those days? They will listen in awe to the tales of clapping on doorsteps with the medical workers. They will sit open-mouthed to hear of daily walks being the only life we saw and how much we missed human contact and gatherings. They will be amazed to know about empty supermarkets, online concerts, birthdays spent on a screen, and a life lived inside. They will listen, then sit back with amazement and say, wow, you went through so much. So think about what you would like your children to take away from this whole year. Tell them they are not behind. Tell them they are not missing out. Tell them they are extremely special indeed, and they will be forever made stronger by this unique time. Tell them catching up is not even a thing because they have grown so much in so many other ways. Remind them too of the fun stuff, the family jigsaws, the window rainbows, the Zoom bingo, the feeling of safety and togetherness amidst the chaos. Let them take that thought with them through life. Change the narrative now, and it will travel far. Tell the children they are not behind. They are special. They are special. Shabbat Shalom. We continue our service with words of Mishaberach as we ask God for blessing, for healing and wholeness for those in our community who are in need of our love. We pray tonight for Shoshana Hannah Asher, Rabbi Alexander Duchovny, Michael Enery, David Habib, Nancy Igdaloff, Ruth Kagan, William Kurian, Carolyn Resnikoff, Carolyn Olson-Stelman, Loie Tolson, Hillary Van Trees, and those whom you mention in the chat or out loud at home now. So we join with Cantor Glaser in our prayer for healing.
Sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
When we come together, we also celebrate Simcha's wonderful, happy, joyous things. Many birthdays in our community tonight. Happy birthday to everybody who has a birthday. And I invite you to share other Simcha's wonderful celebrations in the chat as we join with the Cantor and thanking God for giving us life and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this time.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. אמן.
Aleinu, it is upon us to bring these wonderful simchas into the world, to repair the world, to bring ourselves back together again. And I think during this pandemic, these words of Aleinu also have rung true in so many ways. Faced with these incredible challenges, it has been upon us to create a community that supports and loves one another. It has been upon us and humanity to come up with the incredible innovations in medicine and science and technology that have allowed us to be together and to one day have a vaccinated community that will hopefully be safe from this virus, and maybe, hopefully, we pray from others as well. So it is upon us to build a better world and to continue to work at that. Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We remember on this Shabbat for Shloshim, the first 30 days following death, Stanley Newman, Iris Tandler, and Beatrice Weisbrod. If there are others whom people are remembering for Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning, or Shloshim, the first 30 days, please put a name in the chat or say the name out loud. The yahrzeit anniversaries on this Shabbat in our community are Barry Apter, Robert Arnold, Marion Borkin, Carol Cohen, Selma Curiel, Joseph Denmark, Rebecca Feinerman, Faye Feloise, Robert Fink, Sadie Flaxman, Daniel Gallen, Harold Gelman, George Gerbsman, Raymond Gomes, Suzanne Green, Abraham Greenwald, William Carliner, Chaim Katzup, Ruth Kelman, Frida Koppel, Albina Kostromina, Georgette Krieger, Abraham Kudrin, Emmy Lappheimer, Masha Mervis, Alejandro Carlos Nervo, Jack Recht, and Shirley Rockman. If there are others whom you are remembering on the Shabbat, please put their name in the chat or say their name out loud as we join together in words of Kaddish Yatom, thanking God for all of these lives that came before us. Yitkadal veyitkadash shemei Rabba, ve'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'amei almaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudsha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata v'amiran ve'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Usei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to mourners everywhere, as we ask that the memory of the righteous who came before us be a blessing wherever their values and their lessons are remembered. We say together, Amen. A few announcements. Please join me tomorrow morning at 9:15 to talk about all kinds of gory splattering of blood of all kinds of animals in Parshat Vayikra. It'll be a really fun discussion, I think, tomorrow morning, and actually vegetarian friendly, so I'm just kidding. Immediately following Torah study, which goes from 9:15 to 10:15, we will celebrate Evie and her family as she becomes bat mitzvah in our community, leading our community in prayer. And wait till you guys hear her Devar Torah. She's an extraordinary young woman with much to teach us about all kinds of things, including this Torah portion. And I just want to say, though you're going to say this tomorrow morning, Evie, a little bit in your drash, but I think it's really meaningful that you have chosen to go forward with a bat mitzvah on your original bat mitzvah date. It's something that we talked about, and you said so beautifully and rather amazingly, I think, for a 13-year-old, that as you've investigated the history of our people and learned all about really difficult times in our people's history, you know that simchas were never canceled and that we continued to celebrate these incredible life cycle moments at all times and places in our people's history. And you too would go forward to celebrate and to honor this milestone and become bat mitzvah, even during a pandemic when things look quite different from what we expected when you chose this date. So we're really, really proud of you and really looking forward to welcoming you as an adult into our community and just generally celebrating with you tomorrow. So everybody come 10:30 tomorrow morning. Gordon, I think there's a big holiday coming up.
Yeah, I got a couple odds and ends. Thought you were going to work through them all on me, but so there's apparently a holiday. It involves some sort of weird bread and a big weird plate and a half a bottle of wine. Oh, I can get behind that. It's been a long pandemic. In any event, so on March 22nd, for those of you who are sitting there thinking, I don't have a Haggadah. Never fear, we're running a Haggadah making class. So on the 22nd at 2 p.m., hosted by our own Richard Johns, learn how to make a Haggadah, totally DIY crafts project, as the Brits would say. The Seder itself, we're going to have a second night community Seder, once again, a fundraiser for Hamotzi and the wonderful work they do to feed the hungry. That will be on the 28th at 6 p.m. That morning at 9:30 a.m., if you have some little kids or you're feeling sort of like a little kid yourself, join, who is that? It's Rabbi Phelps. That's it. We don't have a Cantor Phelps. That would be silly. Rabbi Phelps. Yeah, and Cantor Glaser for some matzah making and merry making. That's a different holiday too. And then on the 7th of April is Yom HaShoah. There is a community-wide celebration. We're also doing a few pieces of ours. Information about that is available on our website and in the emails. The 14th of April is Yom Ha'atzmaut. And that will be celebrated with an interview with Deputy Consul General from Israel to San Francisco, Matan Zamir, and I'll be talking to him a little bit about Israel today, Israel then, and where are we now. And finally, we're all going to Israel. Well, not without leaving the couch. April 19th through the 22nd, there will be a digital tour of Israel in conjunction with the Jewish National Fund, co-hosted by our own Steve Wasserman, and I hope you will join us for that. More details are available on the website. And now I have to go because people are making noise around me. But thank you very much for tuning in.
Awesome. Without further ado, let's get one of these birthday girls on the screen. Cece. Oh, another one of these birthday girls. We had one of the birthday girls light our Shabbat candles. She's still up there in a little teeny box at the top of my screen with her mom. And Cece, I know you're out. There we go. Another one of our birthday girls. Yay. So we are delighted to have you.
I felt long and hard about this. This is Tatum, my younger daughter. This was her cup from her bat mitzvah, which we did a year and a half ago. And the reason I chose this one is because you talked, Rabbi Graf, about like silver linings of this year. And I will tell you a major silver lining for me, and I'll try not to get like a little emotional about it, has been hamotzi. So there are so many faces that I can see and names I can see of people that come and help out on Sunday. And it's hard and it's distant and it's not the same as it used to be, but people who shop and people who drop off lemons and people who make cookies and bring them by with their kids and people who bring challahs and gorgeous loaves of bread. And there is a crew and we work really hard every single weekend to make food for people and make it the highlight of their week. And they have very challenging weeks. So I chose this so we could celebrate hamotzi and we could celebrate chicken soupers and all the people who help big and small to make it an amazing program. And it's been one crazy year and every single Sunday we show up and that's what this is for.
Thank you. So let's, if you have a kiddish cup, please raise it high and we'll recite kiddish. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר יציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim, to life and to a wonderful new year to all of our, I think, are they all birthday girls? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think everybody that I heard of was a birthday girl, but if you can be a birthday, whatever you want. We're in San Francisco and everybody can be anything they want. Let me see here. Oh, lots of interesting things about matzah coming up here. So avocado on matzah. There you go. So anybody who has a challah that they would like to hold up for us to celebrate our singing of the motzi together, please do that. Oh, there we go.
Shir, would you like to lead for us? Can we? Could you want to unmute and lead us in our blessing?
Oh, Ruth has one too. I'm sure there are lots of them out there. I just cannot.
Go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Amen. And beautiful chalot. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, lots of beautiful ones as I scroll through tiny boxes. Lovely, lovely. We will conclude our Shabbat service with Od Yavo Shalom. Peace will still come to us, and we look forward to being able to celebrate the peace of mind, which will come from vaccinations as we all come together in peace to celebrate a world that reflects our ever improving values and the lessons of this crazy year. So, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu.
Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Shalom, salam, salam. עלינו ועל כל העולם, שלום, סלם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. סלם עלינו ועל כל העולם, שלום, סלם, סלם עלינו ועל כל העולם, שלום, סלם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם.
Happy birthday to our 5 birthday ladies, Rabbi Abby, Allison, Alana, Evie, and Cece. If I forgot anybody, happy birthday to you.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.